When the pandemic first hit, I was finishing my orchestra piece for the Cincinnati Symphony. And the piece was about this sort of love of childlike wonder and nature and feeling immersed kind of in the outdoors and that kind of inspiration and freedom that you feel in nature. And the reality of quarantine set in, and it became very hard to write for a number of reasons, which I've shared in these videos. But one thing that took me a while to realize, actually, was that I felt like the musical piece I was working on no longer fit with my life. I know this happens to composers and writers and artists who are working on something and then experience a major loss or life change. I know this happened a lot after 9/11, that people felt like life was just not the same, and that the art and creative projects that they were engaged with almost felt kind of meaningless in the immediate aftermath. And still today we talk with the pandemic about this kind of before pre-pandemic times and the world now. So I realized that I kind of had to really revisit the meaning of my piece and reframe it. So I had this narrative in my head, where the child is outside, and since I write chronologically, I was able to essentially shift the ending of the piece. And this narrative is just for me. It's not something that listeners will hear in the music, but I need this narrative to kind of help me get inspired. So essentially, I brought the child of this piece back home, and I decided to make the ending more intimate and internal. There's less of the full orchestra. It's more solo lines, more kind of like a lullaby. I'm kind of imagining the mother comforting the child and saying, "It's okay, we're going inside now." And I even changed the imagery that I had on my wall. I have these kind of photos that I put up to help me stay motivated and inspired and in the life of the piece. And I changed the images to kind of reflect this shelter in place and this trying to feel safe at home. And that is part of how I was able to return to my work. Just a few weeks into the pandemic, I was approached by a wonderful violinist who commissioned me to write him a short piece, which we'll be sharing soon. And he wanted it to be about a meditation on family. And I immediately said yes, because I was just so excited about the idea of having a piece performed virtually, and I also was really excited to work with him. And I really had to think about what it meant to write about family during this time when I'm away from my family. And he actually wanted it to be inspired by a specific photograph. And I actually don't have that many photographs with me of my parents and my extended family from childhood. I have more recent things, but it was sort of hard to think about writing about my family without feeling really sad and just missing them. So I decided to write the piece about my partner Zach and an old family photo of him. It's actually him of a baby in his mother's arms. And that photograph, which we actually have, made me feel hopeful, and it made me kind of dream about our future family and this idea of starting anew and life continuing. And that is where I needed to be in order to write that piece. Reconnecting to your creativity in the pandemic may involve reframing and redefining your pieces and your work that you started before March of this year, and being vulnerable and really understanding what it is that you need to write You know, maybe you can only write a certain kind of piece right now, and that's okay. And stay true to that as much as you can. Thanks.